There comes a moment in every person's life when the weight of disappointment becomes too heavy, when the betrayal of people you trusted cuts too deep, and when the chaos of the world steals too much of your peace. You sit in silence and realize that no matter how much you gave, no matter how much you loved, no matter how much you sacrificed, people still found a way to hurt you, control you, and break you. That's the moment your soul cries out for freedom. That's the moment you decide to stop being moved like a leaf in the wind, tossed around by the storms of other people's emotions. Being untouchable is not about shutting down your heart or becoming cold. It's about rising above manipulation, rising above the noise, rising above the pain that once kept you bound. Emotional detachment is not weakness. It is power. It's the strength to walk away without bitterness, to stand tall when others try to push you down, and to smile in the face of storms because your peace is no longer negotiable. Once you master it, you will find a strength no one can take, a peace no one can destroy, and a life no one can control. When you look at your life, you will realize that the deepest pain never came from strangers. It came from people you trusted, people you gave access to your heart. Somewhere along the way, you started believing their words about you, their labels, their judgments. They told you that you weren't enough, that you needed to do more, be more, prove yourself just to be loved or accepted. And slowly, without even realizing it, you handed them the pen and allowed them to write your story. You allowed their opinions to shape the way you saw yourself. But the truth is, your worth was never meant to be in their hands. You were created with value that no man, no woman, no friend, no enemy, no critic can define or erase. Your worth does not come from their approval. It comes from within you. It was given to you the moment you were born, and no rejection, no betrayal, no failure can take that away. When you recognize this truth, you stop living like a prisoner of people's opinions and you begin to stand tall in the light of your own value. The danger of letting others define your worth is that their view of you will always be limited, temporary, and often poisoned by their own insecurities. A person who does not love themselves cannot love you the right way, and a person who feels small inside will always try to make you feel smaller. If you build your worth on their words, you will constantly rise and fall with their moods like a ship tossed by every wave. One day they praise you and you feel good about yourself. The next day they criticize you and suddenly you doubt your whole existence. That is not living, that is surviving under chains. But when you begin to recognize that you are more than their opinions, more than their jealousy, more than their validation, you rise above that storm. You no longer need the world to clap for you to know your song is worth singing. You no longer need them to accept you to know that you are already whole. When you recognize your worth, something changes inside of you. The things that once broke you no longer control you. The words that once made you cry now roll off your back like water. The rejection that once shattered your confidence becomes nothing more than redirection. You stop chasing love in people who cannot even love themselves. You stop begging for attention in places where you were only meant to walk away. Recognizing your worth doesn't mean arrogance. It means freedom. It means you no longer bargain your soul for temporary affection. You no longer discount yourself just to fit into someone else's small vision of you. It means you understand that your value is not negotiable. Whether they stay or leave, whether they see you or ignore you, your worth remains untouched, unshaken, unbreakable. That is the power of knowing who you are. People will always have something to say about you. They will misunderstand you, misjudge you, and sometimes even envy you. But you have to remember, their opinion is not your truth. Their words are not your reflection. Too many lives have been destroyed by trying to live up to the expectations of others, by trying to please everyone while slowly losing themselves. Recognizing your worth means setting yourself free from that trap. It means refusing to let gossip, jealousy, or criticism define the path you walk. It means knowing that you are not what they call you, you are what you decide to become. When you see your worth, you stop wasting energy proving yourself to people who don't even see themselves clearly. Instead, you invest that energy into building the life you were created to live. A life that is not dictated by applause, but driven by purpose. The moment you recognize your worth, your relationships begin to change. You stop tolerating disrespect disguised as love. You stop accepting half-hearted commitment as if it were devotion. You stop keeping people around who drain you, manipulate you, or treat you like an option. When you value yourself, you set a standard that others must rise to if they want to be part of your life. And those who cannot meet that standard will naturally fall away. That is not loss. It is protection, because you are no longer giving discounts on your soul. You are no longer putting your heart in the hands of those who cannot be trusted. Recognizing your worth teaches you that not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Not everyone deserves access to your spirit. Not everyone deserves the gift of your presence. Your worth creates boundaries, and your boundaries create peace. When you truly recognize your worth, you no longer walk with your head down. You walk with quiet confidence. You no longer beg to be chosen. You realize you are already chosen. You no longer shrink to make others comfortable. You expand into the fullness of who you are. And yes, some people will be intimidated by that. Some will try to bring you back down, to remind you of your past mistakes, to convince you that you are not as strong as you feel. But the truth is, you are stronger than every trial you survived, wiser than every mistake you learned from, and greater than every label they tried to stick on you. Recognizing your worth is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you already were before the world tried to tell you otherwise. And once you live from that truth, no one can take it from you. When you hear the word detachment, most people think it means cutting someone off with anger, shutting the door with bitterness, or building walls so high that no one can ever reach you again. But true detachment doesn't come from hate. It comes from love. Love for yourself, love for your peace, love for the life you refuse to keep sacrificing for people who don't value it. Detaching with love means you walk away without poison in your heart, because carrying resentment only chains you to the very people you're trying to be free from. If you release with hate, you are still tied to them, still giving them power over your emotions, still letting them dictate the way your heart beats. But when you release with love, you take back your power. You look at the situation, you accept what it was, you forgive what they could not give, and you let them go, not for them, but for you. That is where healing begins, in releasing without bitterness. There will always be people who hurt you, disappoint you, or betray your trust. And it's easy to harden your heart, to let anger become the shield you carry, to let bitterness become the armor that protects you from ever being wounded again. But living like that makes you a prisoner of the past. Hate eats at you from the inside, draining your joy, stealing your peace, and making you carry the weight of someone else's actions long after they've gone. Detaching with love is not about excusing what they did. It's about refusing to let what they did continue to control you. It's about saying, you no longer have the power to disturb my peace. You no longer get to rent space in my mind. You no longer get to dictate the state of my heart. That kind of release doesn't come from rage. It comes from strength. When you release someone with love, you see them through the eyes of compassion, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. You realize that broken people break others. Wounded souls wound others. And people who do not know how to love themselves can never fully love you. And instead of carrying that pain into your future, you bless them in silence and let them go. That doesn't mean you invite them back into your life. It doesn't mean you tolerate the same behavior. It doesn't mean you become blind to their true nature. It means you choose freedom over chains. Love allows you to close the door softly, while hate keeps you banging on it forever. Detaching with love is a declaration. I value my spirit too much to let bitterness poison me. I value my peace too much to let resentment sit at the table of my heart. People often mistake detachment with indifference, as if loving yourself enough to let go means you no longer care. But detaching with love is the opposite. It is caring deeply, so deeply, that you refuse to let anger destroy you. It is choosing to see the lesson in the pain, to understand that every goodbye carries wisdom, and to allow that wisdom to shape a stronger, wiser, freer version of you. When you detach with hate, the story never ends. It repeats itself over and over in your mind, replaying the pain, reliving the betrayal. But when you detach with love, you allow the story to end. You close the book, you take the lesson, and you begin writing a new chapter that is not tainted by yesterday's ink. That is how you keep your soul clean, even when others tried to stain it. Detaching with love also means detaching from expectations. Sometimes it's not just people you need to release, it's the version of them you created in your mind. It's the dream of what they could have been, the potential you saw, the hope you held on to for too long. Love lets you release that illusion without bitterness, without blaming yourself for holding on. You don't walk away saying, I wasted my time. You walk away saying, I gave love and love is never wasted, but now I choose to give that love back to myself. That shift changes everything. Because you no longer see detachment as loss, you see it as liberation. You no longer feel empty, you feel free. And freedom, born from love, is stronger than any chain made from hate. When you finally learn to detach with love, your soul feels lighter. You no longer wake up carrying the weight of what they did, what they said, or how they treated you. You no longer give energy to proving yourself right or proving them wrong. You walk in peace, knowing you released them without bitterness, knowing you are free from the poison of resentment, knowing you have chosen healing over hurting, and that peace is untouchable. That peace makes you powerful. Detaching with love doesn't just heal you, it transforms you. It allows you to rise above the pain, to step into a higher level of strength, and to live a life where your heart is no longer caged by hate, but liberated by love. And that is the kind of detachment that makes you truly untouchable. Every person has triggers, words, actions, or situations that spark a fire in the heart, that make anger rise, tears fall, or silence turn into storms. These triggers often come from old wounds, from memories that were never healed, from disappointments that were never fully released. And when someone touches that wound, it feels fresh again. But here's the truth. As long as your triggers control you, you are giving your power away. If a single insult, a single rejection, a single moment of disrespect can pull you out of your peace, then you are no longer in charge of your life, your emotions are. Gaining control over your triggers means refusing to let old pain dictate your present. It means refusing to let someone's words drag you back into battles you've already overcome. It means standing so strong within yourself that even when the wound is pressed, it no longer bleeds. That is true strength, and it is the key to being untouchable. When someone knows your triggers, they hold the strings to your emotions. They know which button to press to make you explode, which silence to give to make you feel worthless, which insult to throw to make you question yourself. And if you react every time, you confirm their power. That's why people test you. They want to see if they can still control you, if they can still bend your spirit, if they can still make you doubt your worth. But when you master your triggers, you break their grip. You teach the world that your peace is not for sale. Your joy is not negotiable. Your heart is not a toy to be played with. Control means power. And when you hold that power within, no one on the outside can shake you. Controlling your triggers doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It doesn't mean pretending you're not hurt, pretending you're not angry, or acting like nothing affects you. That kind of denial only builds a volcano inside that eventually explodes. No, control means awareness. It means you recognize the feeling rising inside you, but you don't let it master you. You notice the anger, but you breathe through it before you act. You feel the sadness, but you remind yourself that this moment will not define you. You see the insult, but you choose not to give it power. Control is not about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally intelligent. It's about knowing how to respond instead of reacting, how to choose peace over chaos, how to stand still while others are trying to make you fall. When you control your triggers, you protect your energy from being wasted on the wrong things. Think about how much strength is lost in arguments that change nothing, in anger that only burns you, in tears that water the seeds of bitterness. Every time you give into a trigger, you are spending energy that could have been invested in your growth, your goals, your destiny. That's why control is not just about self-protection, it's about self-preservation. It's about keeping your fire burning for what truly matters instead of letting it be stolen by what doesn't. Your emotions are fuel, but without control, they will burn everything around you. With control, they will build everything you dream of. The world is full of provocations, people who test your patience, situations that stretch your limits, moments that feel designed to break you. You cannot stop the triggers from coming, but you can decide how you will meet them. That is where your power lies. It's in the pause before the reaction, in the silence before the outburst, in the choice to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. Each time you win that battle, you grow stronger. Each time you hold your peace instead of giving it away, you become untouchable. And slowly your triggers lose their power. What once made you crumble now makes you calm. What once lit your rage now fuels your wisdom. That is mastery. And when you reach that place of control, you will notice how much lighter life feels. You no longer walk into rooms worried about who will push your buttons. You no longer fear betrayal, rejection, or disrespect because you know you cannot be moved by them the way you once were. Your emotions are no longer chains. They are tools. You decide how to use them, when to release them, and when to rise above them. That is what it means to master your triggers. To own your emotions without letting them own you. To choose your response no matter the storm, and to remain steady even when the world tries to shake you. That is the power that makes you truly untouchable. Your energy is the most valuable currency you carry, more valuable than money, more valuable than possessions, because without it you cannot live fully, love fully, or pursue your purpose. Yes, so often people give it away carelessly, pouring it into those who take without giving, investing in relationships that only drain, and wasting it in places that were never meant to hold their light. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is survival. It is the understanding that not everyone deserves access to your spirit. Not everyone should sit at your table. Not everyone should drink from your cup. If you continue to pour into those who only take, you will wake up one day empty, exhausted, and broken. Protecting your energy means setting boundaries that guard your peace, refusing to let every voice have influence over your life, and choosing wisely who gets the privilege of your presence. That is how you preserve your strength for the battles that matter, and that is how you live untouchable. There are people in this world who thrive on draining others. They may not even realize it, but their presence feels heavy, their words carry poison, their actions leave you depleted. You walk away from them feeling smaller, weaker, and less alive than before. These are the ones who constantly complain but never change, who always take but never give, who demand your time but never honor your sacrifice. If you keep allowing them into your space, you will eventually carry their burdens as your own, and their chaos will become your storm. Protecting your energy means learning to say no even when it feels hard. It means walking away from conversations that rob you of joy, refusing to entertain drama that steals your focus, and shutting the door on relationships that bring more pain than peace. Because the truth is, you cannot fix people who do not want to be fixed, and you cannot heal while being drained by the same people who wound you. Protecting your energy is not about isolation, it is about discernment. It's not about cutting off the world, but about recognizing who feeds your soul and who feeds off it. Some people bring light into your life, lifting you higher, encouraging your growth, and giving you strength when your own feels low. Others drain that same light, leaving you in darkness, doubting yourself and carrying weights that were never yours. Wisdom is knowing the difference. When you choose to guard your energy, you begin surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to grow, who celebrate your wins instead of competing with them, who stand with you in storms instead of adding to them. Protecting your energy creates space for love, peace, and growth to thrive, while shutting the door on negativity that seeks to destroy. It's easy to underestimate how much your environment affects your spirit. The conversations you engage in, the company you keep, the places you spend your time, all of these either charge your energy or drain it. That's why protecting your energy means being intentional about your surroundings. You cannot spend every day in toxic places and expect to live in peace. You cannot surround yourself with negativity and expect to walk in positivity. Protecting your energy is about making choices that align with your well-being. It's about choosing rest over constant chaos, peace over unnecessary battles, solitude over destructive company. It's about creating a life where your energy is spent on what builds you. When you start protecting your energy, some people will not understand. They will accuse you of being cold, distant, or selfish because they benefited from your lack of boundaries. But let them talk. Protecting your energy is not about pleasing them, it's about saving yourself. It's about recognizing that your peace matters more than their approval. Your joy matters more than their demands. Your life matters more than their opinion. People who truly value you will respect your boundaries, they will honor your space, and they will never ask you to sacrifice your peace for their comfort. Those who don't will naturally fall away, and that is not a loss, it is a blessing, because the more you protect your energy, the more you attract people who deserve it. Protecting your energy transforms the way you live. You wake up lighter because you no longer carry the weight of others on your back. You move with clarity because you are no longer clouded by negativity. You love deeper because you are no longer drained by constant demands. Protecting your energy is the key to maintaining strength in a world that constantly tries to weaken you. It is the secret to staying whole in a world that constantly pulls you apart. And when you learn to guard that inner light, when you decide who gets access and who does not, you become untouchable. Because no matter what storms rage outside, Your energy, your peace, and your spirit remain protected inside. Silence is often misunderstood. People mistake it for weakness, for surrender, for a lack of courage. But silence, when mastered, is one of the most powerful weapons you can ever carry. Silence is not empty. It is full of strength, full of wisdom, full of discipline. When others try to provoke you, silence is what keeps you from being pulled into their chaos. When others expect a reaction, silence is what leaves them powerless. You see, silence doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you choose not to waste your energy proving yourself where proof is not needed. It means you value your peace more than you value winning arguments. Silence is the ability to stand tall, to remain calm, and to let your strength speak louder than words ever could. And in a world that constantly demands noise, silence becomes untouchable. There are people who thrive on your reaction. They insult you, push your buttons, test your patience, all in hopes that you'll explode and confirm their control over you. The moment you react, they win. But when you meet their fire with silence, you take away their fuel. When you refuse to argue, refuse to defend yourself against lies, refuse to explain yourself to those who have already judged you, you starve their need for power. Silence does not make you weak. It makes you untouchable. It tells the world, I am not moved by your noise. I am not defined by your opinions. I am not controlled by your games. That kind of silence is louder than any shout, stronger than any insult, and more effective than any revenge. Silence is also a teacher. In silence, you learn to hear yourself. You learn to separate your true voice from the noise of the world. You learn to listen to your intuition, your wisdom, your spirit. Too many people never find peace because they are always reacting, always defending, always speaking just to be heard. But when you embrace silence, you learn that your value does not need to be announced, your worth does not need to be explained, and your truth does not need to be argued. Silence allows you to observe, to discern, to understand people and situations in ways that words would only blur. It gives you clarity in the middle of chaos, and clarity is power. When you use silence as your weapon, you take control of situations that others use to control you. Imagine standing in the middle of accusations, insults, and lies, and instead of fighting back, you remain calm, steady, unshaken. That silence speaks louder than 1,000 defenses. It unsettles those who seek to provoke you because they cannot touch a person who refuses to react. Silence is not about losing the battle. It's about choosing which battles are even worth fighting. And most of the time, silence is the victory, because the world will eventually see the truth without you ever having to scream it. Silence also protects your energy. Every time you argue, every time you try to convince, every time you waste words on ears that will never hear, you drain yourself. Silence saves you from that. Silence allows you to keep your power inside, to use it for growth, for healing, for building the life you deserve. It stops you from scattering your energy into meaningless debates, and it allows you to walk away with peace still intact. When you use silence, you are not ignoring the problem. You are rising above it. You are choosing to let peace guard your heart while the world burns itself out in noise, and that choice is strength. There will be times when silence feels hard, when everything in you wants to shout, to defend, to fight back. But the discipline of silence is what shapes an untouchable spirit. Silence does not mean you do nothing. It means you trust that not every battle needs your voice. It means you understand that truth, time, and peace will reveal what words cannot. When you master silence, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, you become untouchable. Because in a world full of noise, the one who can stand strong in silence holds the greatest power of all. Peace is not just the absence of noise, conflict, or drama. It is the foundation upon which strength, clarity, and resilience are built. When you decide to choose peace over chaos, you're not running away from life. You're stepping into a higher version of yourself where your power is preserved, not wasted. Chaos comes knocking in many forms. The unnecessary arguments, the people who provoke you just to see if you'll break, the constant demands of the world pulling you in every direction. It wants to see you react, to drain your focus, to keep you distracted from your growth. But peace is the refusal to surrender to that trap. It is the calm confidence of someone who knows they do not need to prove themselves in the noise. By choosing peace, you build a shield that not only protects your mind, but also strengthens your ability to see through the illusions that chaos tries to sell. Choosing peace does not mean you are weak or passive. It means you are strong enough to step away from what doesn't deserve your energy. There is a profound power in the person who can remain still while the storm rages around them. People will often mistake your calmness for indifference, but what they fail to understand is that you have matured beyond their games. You no longer respond to everything because not everything deserves a response. Peace is the choice of the wise. It is the decision to guard your mental clarity, your emotional balance, and your spiritual well-being. The chaotic world will always offer opportunities to fight battles that don't matter, but peace reminds you that not every battle is worth fighting. Chaos is addictive. It feeds on emotions, thrives on reaction, and demands your participation. But once you break free from that cycle, you start to see how much time in life you've been wasting in unnecessary conflict. When you choose peace, you begin to operate differently. You think more clearly, act more intentionally, and respond with wisdom instead of impulse. Peace allows you to focus on what truly matters. Your growth, your calling, your purpose keeps you steady when others try to pull you into the drama they've created. And the truth is, some people can't function without chaos. They stir up trouble because their own lives are empty and they want company in their misery. But when you stand firm in peace, you show them that you refuse to be dragged down into their storm. Peace also creates room for deeper connections, healthier relationships, and a stronger sense of self. When you are at peace, you don't feel the need to compete, argue, or prove your worth to others. You understand that peace is not given. It is chosen, guarded, and cultivated every single day. And that means setting boundaries, walking away from situations that disrupt your spirit, and refusing to let external noise control your inner world. Peace is a discipline, a practice of deciding that your mental and emotional well-being are too valuable to be sacrificed for temporary drama. And when you live in that discipline, people will notice. They'll see the strength in your silence, the power in your stillness, and the confidence in your refusal to be disturbed. The more you choose peace, the more chaos reveals itself for what it truly is. An illusion, a distraction, a thief of time and energy. You realize that peace is not found in waiting for everything around you to calm down. It is found in learning to remain calm despite the storm. It's about standing tall when others collapse, thinking clearly when others lose control, and refusing to be shaken when life tests you. That inner stability makes you untouchable because no matter how loud the world becomes, you know how to return to that quiet center within you where your strength is anchored. That is why peace is power. It makes you steady, and steadiness is something no chaos can break. At the end of the day, peace is a choice you make moment by moment. It's the decision to take control of yourself instead of trying to control the chaos around you. It's the discipline of walking away from arguments that steal your joy, the wisdom of letting silence be your response, and the courage of protecting your spirit from unnecessary noise. And while chaos screams, peace whispers. But that whisper carries more power than the loudest storm. The one who chooses peace chooses freedom. Because in peace you find clarity, in clarity you find strength, and in strength you find the ability to rise above everything that was meant to destroy you. Always choose peace over chaos, because peace is not only the way forward, it is the ultimate victory. Life is a constant pull between chaos and clarity, between the noise of the world and the stillness within you. What we've uncovered here is not a set of random lessons, but a path toward becoming untouchable. A way of living where you rise above the emotions, the distractions, and the manipulations that try to chain you down. It begins with recognizing your worth, because the truth is, no one else can define who you are unless you hand them the pen. Excuse that this is not an event that can be intentional or unintentional. Life is a constant swing for the fences. The fence is what you hit them. The fence is what you hit them. When you see yourself clearly, you stop chasing validation and start walking in your own power. That is the first step to freedom. Understanding that your value is not up for debate. Detachment then becomes the tool that keeps you steady. But it's not about bitterness or hate. It's about releasing with grace. When you detach with love, you free yourself from resentment. And you stop carrying the weight of people who were never meant to walk your journey. You create space for peace in your own heart And that peace is priceless. Along the way, you will face triggers, moments where your emotions want to control you, where anger, pride, or fear rise up to dictate your reactions. But mastery comes when you decide to control your triggers instead of letting them control you. That is when you truly become unshakable. As you grow in strength, you realize not everyone deserves unlimited access to your life. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it is survival. There are people who will drain you, people who will leave you feeling empty and defeated every time they walk away. When you learn to set limits, you are not shutting the world out. You are keeping your light alive so it can shine for the right people in the right purpose. Protecting your energy allows you to thrive, not just survive. And it gives you the strength to keep moving forward without being pulled backward by those who don't respect your soul. In this journey, silence becomes your greatest ally. Silence speaks louder than words when used with wisdom. It protects your dignity, it confuses your enemies, and it gives you space to hear your own thoughts without the clutter of the world. Sometimes silence is the only answer because not everything deserves your voice. When you hold back from reacting, you're not losing, you're winning the deeper battle of self-control. Silence builds an aura of strength, and strength is what makes you untouchable. Through it all, the guiding principle is simple. Always choose peace. Peace is not weakness, peace is power. It is a decision to step out of unnecessary battles, to rise above small provocations, and to protect your inner calm, no matter how loud the world becomes. When you choose peace, you are choosing yourself, your future, and your freedom. That's how you step into your highest self, untouchable, steady, and unstoppable. Thank you for walking through this journey of reflection and strength. May you carry these truths into your life with courage, wisdom, and grace. Stay strong, protect your spirit, and never forget that your peace is your greatest power. God bless you.